Welcome to Bethlehem Lutheran Church in Manly, Iowa. I'm standing by the cornerstone. 1954, this building was built. Farmers came with their equipment. They dug down deep. They built the sanctuary, or the basement, for the sanctuary to stand on. But this isn't the whole story. See, the whole story started in 1921. They had a baptism before they were official congregation. Those people wanted to have a Lutheran presence here in this town, in this community, centered in God's grace, with the sacraments of baptism and Holy Communion, centered in God's holy word. But you see, this is just a building. This is just a building. It's the people and their stories and God's story that make it come alive. It is a gift to celebrate 100 years of ministry. It is a gift to look back and to see those who guided us and led us, but more importantly, let us celebrate the people. A tale to tell, and there's lots of them, and I wish I could tell them all. Someone who was married here went up to the bell tower and to the bell wheel, and he carved the wedding date and his first and his bride's name in it. Those are tales that tell how important this place is to people. I hope this place is important to you. May God continue to bless it, guide it, and sustain us. May we move forward in faith. Come along. Let's hear what God has done in this place. I thank you for being with us. My name is Pastor Linda Johnson Prestholt, and it is a privilege to serve here at Bethlehem.
Best place of honor as the most senior member?
I understand I am. Mm-hmm. No, I understand I am. In September I'll be 95, and I guess I'm the oldest one. When my folks moved up here, they moved here from Minnesota. And Dad started farming east of town. Well, when they moved here, Dad was Baptist. He was from South Carolina, North Carolina. My mother was Presbyterian from Illinois. There was no Presbyterian and there was no Baptist. So they just simply didn't start church. Well, then the neighbor lady invited my mother to come down to Ladies' Aid one day. So she did. All of them sat there and talked German all afternoon. She come home, she told my dad. He says, you don't have to go back. She never did. But yet they were light when he died, the church was packed. People loved him, but that was just life for him. But
and as I recall, when your mom passed away, the church was also very full.
Yes. So we moved into town in 39. My dad died in 37. We moved to town in 39. And we only lived just a block east of the church on the same street. And then the first girl I met lived just 2 houses down. Well, they belonged to the church. Well, then she talked me into it. I'd only been in church once in my life, but when I went in there, I thought, oh, this is beautiful. I really liked it. Well, then it went on, and we stayed there, and then my cousin lived across the street. Well, then we got confirmed together, just the two of us. And that's kind of how I got into the church. And then, of course, we were married there, and I was baptized there, and confirmed there, and married there, and for two of our children, I believe Ted was in the new church, but our other two girls were in the old church for confirmation, if I remember correctly. But, I love those old churches.
You are newer members.
Yeah.
What prompted you to come to Bethlehem? Was there any particular reason, or is it just because you live across the street?
I was going to say, do you want the honest answer? Because that would be because we live across the street.
Yeah. Convenience.
It does make a difference.
And everybody raves about Pastor Linda. That was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a pastor you can relate to.
So let's see, you were from Kensett originally. So did you go to church in Kensett then, or?
I was actually a member of Elk Creek.
Okay. So now you're kind of back in the fold with the 4 Point Parish.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what are some of the things that you're involved with in the church?
I'm part of the men's group. We meet once a month and have coffee and fellowship, and Steve O'Neill makes breakfast and stuff.
Me and Colin are in Bible school. Bible school, Sunday school.
I was on council for a stint.
A sentence?
Yes.
So how about you, Heidi? I know you're involved in some things.
I'm part of the small but mighty NAG group,
Which, tell us what NAG stands for.
Nurturing All Generations.
So it's not just poking and prodding that you want
It's not
things
just
done.
wives complaining about their husband, that's not what we do. I mean, we do that too, but not our purpose. But, yeah, we do that and help with the Centennial committee and whatever Pastor Linda asks of us, we usually do.
So what are some other things that you do in church, Colin? Do you go to Sunday school?
Yeah.
What do you like about Sunday school?
That stuff.
What kind of stuff?
Stuff we do like craft.
You do crafts? What kind of crafts? Do you do fun stuff?
We make whatever we want to make.
Whatever you want.
Nice. That's good. Do you have a favorite part of church? You got to do something at Christmas time, Christmas Eve. Do you remember what that was?
Yeah.
What did you get to do?
Well, we went a night for a little bit and we said Merry Christmas to everyone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were in church? What did you get to take up to the altar on Christmas Eve? Do you remember? And you and Pastor Linda put it in the manger?
Jesus.
That's right.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We welcome you to worship our Christmas Eve service. We will be both at Bethlehem Lutheran Church in Manly and Grace Lutheran Church in Hamlintown. Jess is going to light the candles. Our wait is over. The light has come, and we celebrate again the birth of the Christ child. We mark time with the hope, the peace, joy, and love candles. And tonight, Jessica gets to light the Christ candle, the Christmas candle at the center of the ring. The ring is green, reminding us that God's love is eternal. It is in a circle, reminding us that his love is unending. Hear the word from Isaiah. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of darkness, on them light has shined. Hear the word from chapter 6. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us, authority rested upon his shoulder, and his name is Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow eternally, and there shall be endless peace. For the throne of David and his kingdom, he will establish and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time onward and forevermore.
So that was kind of fun, wasn't it? Or not. There you go. All right.
It was.
So you told me a really cute story of how you actually ended up being a member here.
Well, it was in February of 1941 when my parents decided to move to Manly. We lived in the Plymouth area, and I was a Methodist at the time because we went to Plymouth and we went to the Methodist church. So then we moved to Manly, and this house was between the Bethel church and the Lutheran church, and us kids had to decide, were we going to Sunday school? Well, I left my little brother Elwood, he's gone, but anyhow, I said, you run off and I'll follow you. Well, he chose the Lutheran church, and it was called the Manly English Lutheran Church at the time, the old church. So that's where I started. And then, of course, when the new church was built, here I am. And I'm still a member. I'm Loretta Halfman, and I'm 89 years old. So that's my beginning of being a Lutheran.
And Grandma and Grandpa were charter members, as was his dad.
And how about some names?
Huh?
How about names?
Okay. My grandpa was Alvin, and my grandma was Charlotte, and then my dad was Earl, but he was next to the youngest of 7 children, and they all came here.
Okay, and did they all attend church at the old church?
Yeah, they went to the old church, and then when this was built, we came here. Not all 7 of them, but Mom and Dad were longtime members here at this church. They were, I have 3 brothers and sisters, and we were all baptized in the old church and confirmed here in this new church, and 3 of us were married here.
Okay, you're kind of our historian, so dates. Let's do some dates. Now, when was groundbreaking on this church?
Groundbreaking for this church was in 1954.
Okay.
It's printed on the cornerstone out in front. The that was groundbreaking, and it was dedicated in 55. We had Pastor Alstead, I think, was the pastor at that time. The addition was built in what year?
It was sometime in the 70s, I think Jenkins
In the
was here.
70s. But there was a chapel at the very end of it. And then it was Sunday school rooms on the two sides. And then when Pastor Randy was here in the 90s, it was voted by the congregation to, well, I guess it wasn't 90s, it was early 2000s, to change that from a chapel and Sunday school rooms to a fellowship hall and a large kitchen and fancy restrooms for men and women and the church offices. I was the church secretary from, I think it was 06 or 07, and I was church secretary for 16 and a half years and enjoyed every minute of it.
Okay, now when we were talking about changing the wing from the educational chapel wing into the fellowship hall, I know you told me about construction.
It was a lot of dust. The drywall dust was, yeah, a lot of dust. And there's pictures of these big things hanging down from the ceiling, and they were for the air vents, but they looked like elephant trunks.
So
We kept the stained glass windows down there because that was part of the chapel. We still have the cross down there, and we have an occasional service down there in what used to be the chapel, and like for Maundy Thursday. And the old timers liked the early service. It was always 8 o'clock down there, and then we had Sunday school, and then church in the sanctuary. My parents were the early ones.
you and Truman Chapel, what was called, we had the regular church people and we had the chapel
We
people,
went to that all the time.
which was at 8 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning,
mhm.
and it was
Yeah.
just a smaller service
Yeah,
in the chapel.
Daphne and the girls, and Jim and Dora Roberts, and
Wingers.
yeah, Wingers, and it was just maybe about 6 or 8 couples, you know, but no, we just loved it. Truman loved to go there and then go out for breakfast. That's what he liked to do.
So that was kind of the Sunday ritual, huh?
Yeah, and then you had your whole Sunday to yourself. No, we went that way for years.
Now, before the fellowship hall was transformed from the educational wing, with the chapel, were you one of the chapel people, or? did you
Yes,
come-
I was. I loved 8 o'clock church. It was really nice to come to 8 o'clock, and then you had the day to yourself, and we averaged 20, 30 people, some Sundays more than that. But that was a very nice, I enjoyed that very much.
And it's kind of nice because the chapel was an intimate place.
Right. So it was something I enjoyed, was that people come to that, sometimes didn't come to church, but they did come to 8 o'clock.
This picture is called Easter Morn, and the pastor in the old church, his wife painted it. So then when we went from the old church to this church, we brought it with us. And, you know, it's something that everybody remembers. Pictures are taken in front of it.
So let's start with earliest memories of the church. What are some of your earliest
your
memories?
I was Sunday school teacher of the 3-year-olds when I first came to church. I remember that. Margaret Bunker Fisher was with me part of the time. And we had a good time with the little kids. Some of them would wet their pants, and we had to deal with that, but we managed to get along. And I was all over the church, and I belonged to the circles, and I belonged to the women of the church, and I served on the council once. And in December, I took usher. So I was usher, and I've done a lot for the church.
So what were some of the changes that you saw with Sunday school through the years?
Sunday school was a big group of kids, and I remember that Maxine Kruger's husband, Ed, and I were presidents of the Sunday school, and we conducted the opening ceremonies for the Sunday school. And I remember very well the boys that were busy talking when we were to say the Lord's Prayer, and so I stopped the Lord's Prayer and I said, "Would you like to say that over again?" They never, ever interrupted me again by talking, because I was really deaf on when I prayed. Everybody should be quiet. Well, since I moved down here, I haven't gone to church that much in Manly, and I guess it would be Pastor Linda, who I enjoy her sermons. That really I haven't. I've had the Trinity Lutheran group come here and want me to join them, but I can't leave Pastor Linda. But when I've been in the hospital, she has always been there.
How long did you and Elwood take care of the church?
15 years. And I love that. I loved it.
Okay, and there's one story that you missed.
The
bell tower.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know he was up there scratching our name in the bell. Oh dear. No, I didn't know that till later.
But you're infamous for that now.
I guess, yes, because there was a wedding here not very long ago, and they took him up to the bell tower to show him that after they got married. I still remember where a lot of people sat in the pews in church way back then. In fact, today I looked over to see where Otto Beakley and his wife sat, and that was about where Pearl and Lee were sitting today, so they're still sitting in the same spot. I had so many mentors, whether it was a Sunday school teacher or my first grade teacher, or, well, of course, my parents and my grandmother, but 4-H leaders. They were all mentors to me, and I would like to hope that I could be a mentor for somebody else. Oh, I have something here. One of my children brought this home from Sunday school, and it says, "Prayer changes things. When you pray, believe." And this has been in a prominent place in my home, either on a table or on a shelf, or maybe in an arrangement for Christmas, or it's always been in my home ever since. Still in my home. I took it off the shelf to bring it for this. And Walt Kruger gave it to one of my children. I don't remember which one, but it's still very meaningful to me. So I wanted to share that. This church, I love my church family. They've been so supportive of us and of me. And I love this church, and it'll always be my home. I just really love it here. Another thing, when I grew up, Sunday school and church were almost as important or as important as going to school. In other words, you didn't miss.
So what are some of the memories that you do have?
Oh, I have a lot of memories of Sunday school here. We had Sunday school in the room over there, and we had it down the basement, and we had lots of kids. I remember when we had confirmation, 8th and 9th grade, there was about 30-some kids. So they had a lot of kids. Pastor Jenkins was busy. So, yeah.
So who were some of the teachers that you had in Sunday school?
Oh, we had my dad. That's one I remember the most.
Who is Walt Kruger?
Yeah, Walt Kruger, yeah. He taught Sunday school probably 40, 50 years. And then when he passed away, their kids sent letters and they all really appreciated him. He did a good job. Oh, my Uncle Ed was a Sunday school teacher too. He was superintendent too, so I remember him doing some of that. And then Bible school, my mom taught too once in a while, so church has been kind of like a family to us. And growing up, Dad, that was his Sunday. He didn't miss church. We had field work to do, he'd still go to church, and that was priority.
And my dad and his two brothers were all charter members. And one of my dad's oldest brother, Casper, he and his wife both were charter members. And I was baptized at the old church, in this congregation, and confirmed here, and we were married here.
So in the building itself, do you have many recollections of construction or anything that...
I don't really have memories of the construction. I have memories of the groundbreaking. I remember that the altar that is downstairs, it used to be anyway downstairs when I was a Sunday school student, and we had our opening before we went to our classes. That altar was moved out to the area where the groundbreaking was to take place.
Oh.
I remember that. Mm-hmm. And Pastor Alstead was our pastor at that time.
We're visiting with Jim Garnis, and we picked this setting because the window behind us was dedicated by his parents, Arnold and Zola Garnis, who were members here for a lot of years.
Right.
So Jim, what were some of your earliest memories of the church?
When the construction of the building, I remember when they put the steel beams across for the flooring in the sanctuary, and also the day that they put the information, the article and all the paperwork in the cornerstone of the church.
So you talked about the cornerstone. Do you remember what they put in the cornerstone?
The cornerstone has probably got blueprints of the building, the article for the Manly Signal possibly in it, and pictures of it. And probably the abstract and paperwork like that is still in it, is also in it, so. But I can still picture the iron beams they set in place for the floor.
How old were you?
Probably 5 or 6.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. That was the definite remembrance of the church. Yeah.
So, family history.
My parents were both members here for years, and I was confirmed here. I went to Sunday school here.
So what were some of the activities that you remember?
I helped out with the making of the ice cream for the ice cream social. I think that was about it.
Did they have Luther League then?
Yes, Luther League was every Sunday night from 6 to 8, I believe. And we did not only lessons or that, sometimes we went bowling and did some other activities. So.
Okay, now you mentioned the ice cream social. I know at one point in time they used to make ice cream downstairs before we added turned the educational wing into the fellowship hall. So did they make the ice cream downstairs and then it had to be hauled? Or was it just frozen downstairs as well?
I believe it was frozen downstairs, made and frozen downstairs.
I was gonna say, that's always a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't seem like this church is, what, 70, almost 70 years old. And it's in beautiful shape yet. It's been well taken care of. So.
Most of the time it's a labor of love for the people that are putting their time in.
Yes.
And volunteering.
Yes.
And we are very fortunate. We have a lot of really good volunteers.
Yes.
The first time I had Sunday school here was with Millie Black as my teacher. And we were actually right up here in the room above the choir loft. And we had lots of kids. That's the huge difference I've noticed, is how many kids we had back in Sunday school. Now, it's just few and far between. Our classes were huge. We were everywhere around this church, and obviously the fellowship hall and all that wasn't here, so they had the basement filled with classes. And Millie always was so kind, and the thing I remember about Millie is she always wore a black bow. Every Sunday she had a black bow in her hair, and that was just something that stuck with me all these years. And she always was dressed up, she always looked beautiful, and she had that black bow in her hair. And we had choir, and we would sit over there, which was fun because our parents were out here and we were, we felt pretty important sitting over there in the choir loft. We had Luther League, and that was a big thing. They'd go on hay rides, they'd go caroling. They're still doing that with the little kids, I've noticed, but it was just, there was so many kids. When we'd have a Christmas program, it was packed up here, just absolutely packed. We had so many kids that you'd always want to part, and you'd want to be one of the main characters, and there were so many older kids that always got to be the main characters, but it was just a whole different world back then.
Okay, now when you're talking about the older members, is there somebody particular that you've got a really fond memory of, or?
I always
a
remember
story?
Harvey Meyer. He was my brother and two sisters teacher. I never got to have him because he was getting way up there in age, and I never got to have him, but I always wanted to. I looked forward to having him because I loved him so much. I had Walt Kruger and adored him, and I had Tim Winger as a teacher, and he would even come back on weekends from college to teach us because he liked our class so much, and we just adored him too. I do have a funny story about Walt Kruger. He took us to the bowling alley as a class on a Saturday afternoon, and I remember I'm just really particular about money, and I was probably 7th grade, maybe 6th. And he wanted to buy all of us hamburgers and malts and bowl. And I literally went around and told every kid not to order anything to eat because I was afraid he didn't have any money. And so Walt even came up to me and he's like, "Rhonda, don't you want to order anything?" And I said, nope, I'm fine. And I don't know if anybody ordered anything. I think a couple kids did because I didn't get to him in time, but I don't know if he ever, I think I told him in later years that I was afraid he didn't have any money. And he was willing to buy everybody malts and hamburgers and pay for bowling, and I think I only let him pay for bowling. And I think one of my favorites is always Christmas Eve with the candlelight service. And Mom was always here and all of us kids, and then time goes on and you have less and less in your family, but it's just kind of magical that when you light the candles for Silent Night and you get to sing that and you get to look around and it just softens the whole church and everybody's faces look angelic. And now I have my grandkids when they are here for Christmas, and that's one of my most special memories is always Christmas Eve and singing in the candlelight.
And when I was Sunday school superintendent, in '54, the church was built here, or Cornerstone, or whatever it was laid. We had Sunday school, we had 50, 60 kids, and that was nice. We had it downstairs, there was Sunday school rooms downstairs, and this one particular year, the kids wanted a Christmas program downstairs on the stage because they had pretty red curtains, and they wanted to pull these curtains for a play and have this play. I thought, what am I going to do with 40, 50 kids to put in a play? But we managed by doing speeches, singing solos, or singing duets, or singing together in a group, and we put this play on. It came upon the Midnight Clear. It was a big hit, and Helen Thone was one of the people, and she said she loved it, enjoyed it, and thought it was the best we've ever had. So we had a good time. The kids really had a good time with that, and I don't think they did it after that again, but the kids thought it was fun, and I was glad to do it for them.
I remember years ago when we had our Sunday school Christmas program in the evening in the church basement. I don't recall if it was on the stage or not. One year the theme was it came upon a midnight clear. Each of us spoke a line from that song. Mine was, and I have remembered all these years, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. We all wore blue robes made from material provided. We all looked alike. We dressed as angels.
So Lorraine, you've got some Sunday school stuff that you did when you were young.
Yeah, this was in this church, just a little round disc, and I even wrote my name on it. And it's made out of macaroni words, letters. But that was when I was in grade school, really young. And this is my Sunday school papers, which I really liked. Ribbon is getting old. But we had our own Sunday school papers, and they gave them to us. This way? Yep. And I thought, oops.
So those were from your Sunday lessons?
Yes.
These were the things you got?
I read them to my daughter, Lanita, too, so they got used. And I loved them. Just little stories. So, but this is our family in this church, over by a window over there that I'm pretty sure if we go in the windows that Grandpa and Grandma Dietrich bought, and Mom and Dad was standing there in September of '72, and this is the four of us a few years back standing by the same window, which I think was very special for us.
So what were some of the events that you participated in or that they had that maybe we don't have now or that we still have that you enjoy?
I think we ate a lot of food. Because every time you turn around, there was food. Even in the old church. I remember that. Mom would be making pie or something, the ladies, and it was fun though. I'm glad I grew up in it.
So as we're looking for the future, anything that you want to share or any advice that you want to give or something you don't want to see repeated?
No, just let them do what they think is best and let them figure it out like we had to. When I can remember seeing great grandma Dow walking down the street with her cane and her little old coat and her little hat, and she was coming to church in the old church. Just dedicated little lady, and that is one thing I knew was special.
So, the confirmation class now is relatively small. And you said if it would be each individual church, they would be few in numbers. Mm-hmm. And you said you were confirmed one of two.
Just my cousin and I. And I really, to be honest, I didn't learn anything. Well, we had, he was the guy that married us also. But we went to him about confirmation, yeah. Well, he had an office in the parsonage up above, and she and I would meet once a week for 6 weeks. We were confirmed. I knew nothing. I learned nothing. I kid you not. I didn't learn one thing. So, it's an awful thing to say, but I didn't. And if she was alive, she'd admit it with me.
Now, did you go to confirmation class?
Yes,
here?
I did.
Okay, so what was that like?
I can't even remember. Oh, Pastor Henriksen was my pastor. And just a normal confirmation class, I guess.
So how many people?
We had 12 or 13.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, there was 13 of us.
So then when your kids were in Sunday school and confirmation, how were things different as compared to when you were?
Oh, I think I had to learn more things than the kids did. I had to do more memorization than they did. But otherwise, I would say it was about the same.
So when you were confirmed, did they do public questioning?
No.
You were lucky, huh?
I was. That's what they're doing. I was. No, I didn't have to do that.
That's good. That's just kind of one of those things that's just kind of curiosity for me, because when I was confirmed, we had public questioning. And when Kyle was confirmed, it was public questioning with the council, which wasn't quite so bad. But when I was confirmed, it was anyone in the congregation could stand up and ask you
Oh, dear.
anything. That was a little hair raising.
I would say so. I don't know if I'd enjoy that. No.
And I remember Colbert?
Oh, yeah, I know the name, but I don't remember him that well.
He was the minister at Allentown, and he had me go in, and he confirmed me. And he had me go in. We went into his office at the church, one by one, and he told me that he didn't want to see anything but church music on my piano at home. And I had all kinds of music.
Just have to tell him, well, let me know when you're on your way.
And when you're here, I'll make sure it's there.
That's right. When you leave, then it's my piano.
I didn't dare to speak up to him.
No, people talked about him. He's very stern, and he's made it.
Very stern.
Now, your two boys were both confirmed here.
Yes.
So, with them going through confirmation compared to when you went through confirmation, what were the differences you remember?
I don't think they had to go 3 years. I think it was only 2 years, and I believe it was on a Wednesday night when they went to confirmation.
Some things that are different now from the time I was in confirmation classes, I don't recall ever having taken any sermon notes.
Really?
Now, was that because I shirked my duty? Or didn't the pastor require it? I don't ever remember anything about sermon notes until my kids were in confirmation class.
Now, in the fellowship hall, there is the framed Lord's Prayer. Do you know anything about that story?
Is it a crocheted or?
Yeah.
Yes, I do know a little bit about it. One time, the church was broken into and a safe was stolen. And they found, as I recall, the safe in a body of water somewhere, maybe in the Mason City area. And this wall hanging of the Lord's Prayer had been donated. Do you remember Hazel Blyton?
I don't. That was before my time.
Hazel Blyton was a dear lady, and she said that someone had given it to her to donate to the church. And we always felt that she had maybe made it herself and didn't want to take credit for it because she didn't think that was the thing to do. Who knows? Anyway, that was put into that safe, that crocheted wall hanging. And it was found hanging from a tree branch and was salvaged and saved and now hangs in our fellowship hall.
That's just amazing.
It is amazing. It is. Yes, it is.
Oh, did anybody ever talk about the boiler explosion back in the early 60s?
You know, Ray kind of touched on it, but
Yeah.
tell us.
Well, we were about 3 pews up from the back, and of course Lorraine knew a lot about it because she was in the choir, and they had just gotten the robes on downstairs, and they would have got burned because that hot water from that old boiler, the basement was half flooded with water, and that was boiling hot water. So I don't know what it would have done to people, but it exploded. We thought the place blew up, and my mom, just each man for himself, running out the door. But
You're on your own.
At the back part of the church was evacuating quite efficiently.
So that was before they had the legitimate evacuation plan in place.
Yeah, there was nothing. It was just like each man for themselves, I think, or woman or whoever they were. But I kind of remember that. I wasn't, probably 10 years old or whatever. But
So Alan, when we went through the pandemic in the last 2 years, we started a YouTube service, and you've been helping with those, you've been singing with those.
Yeah. It's enjoyable. I enjoy it.
It's been kind of nice because we've been able to, now that we're for parish, or 4 Point Parish, we've been able to meet a lot of the people from the other churches.
Yes, I enjoy going to the other churches. I was hoping that's the way it would work, would alternate through the 4 churches. It has, and it's good. So.
And we've met a variety of people that way.
Yeah. Met people didn't know but familiar names. I guess that was, been around all of them with names go clear back when, so. Anyhow, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
My child, there is a place when you're lost, you will be found. You'll be safe and you'll